Hey guys, who dat there one? Welcome to another amazing episode of Boring Task of the Day. Man, I've been lacking in these videos. In most cases when I deal with boring task of the day, it's before and after people usually come into the office. And during the day I try not to bring out a camera just because of the fact that there's always people in here. So anyhow, moving on. So in inspiration of the lack of videos I've been giving you guys, I'm gonna make this one extra long for you just because I can. So FYI, I just realized I have a burnt out light up here, and the lighting's gonna suck because I don't have an extra light bulb, so sorry, and I gotta deal with that. But anyhow, I've been dealing with tables again, my most favorite thing to do, and for this job, for the past 2 days, I've been dealing with this. Basically what's supposed to happen is supposed to figure out what transformers are going to room based on what's in there. So a lot of these rooms are pretty straightforward. It's usually a motor, and that's about it. So once I get this figured out, then I get to figure out an order I can place, and we go from there. So anyhow, boring task of the day, 2 days. I'm going nuts, literally going nuts. Same job. In my line of work, we deal with things all the time. We deal with all sorts of acronyms. There's SIs, which is supplementary instructions, which are released after an RFI, which is a request for information. And basically, an RFI, when it comes to certain things on drawings or looking at the specs or whatever, we usually need information back from the engineer. Or sometimes it's things like when we have our electricians going through and they have to run a conduit somewhere and it doesn't really make any sense, or blah blah blah, it doesn't fall along with the contract. We send an RFI in, and it's basically the official way of asking the engineer what we do, and then usually there's an SI that's released to explain what we need. And in this case here, it has to do with valves, and there's actually 2 parts to a contract for this one particular job, and there's some confusion in there and blah blah blah, and needless to say, these valves have not been ordered, so the job is actually sort of delayed right now, in one extent. And it's been a real pain because sometimes it takes weeks before we get answers, and of course every day that the answers are held up, because it usually has to go through like 2 or 3 entities before it comes to me. Usually delays when the parts come in, and usually the parts take about 2 to 3 weeks to come in, so it kind of gives you an idea of what to expect anyhow. But needless to say, an RFI is generally paragraphs of stuff, and it's usually kind of looks like this. You got it all worded out, and it has brand names on there sometimes if you ask for it, and what the configurations are and things like that. And it's real boring stuff, but it's very important stuff because we need to make sure that we maintain our side of the contract and make sure everything works. So anyhow, that's that. Next part of boring task of the day is figuring out parts for a job. Now, I usually don't have to deal with it too much, but there have been a couple of smaller jobs where the only way you can figure out the initial parts for a job is by going through the controls drawings, or just, I should say, the schematics or blueprints as ones would call them anyhow. So we get wonderful long sheets like this, and of course it has the entire floor plan on it, and we have to go through that and basically count every single valve that we have to put in, every single thermostat, sensor, you name it. And even so, it's not always like on the drawing. So for instance, if we see a motor on here, like on a drawing somewhere, like a fan or a pump or something like that, depending on our contract, you know, tells us what we all have to put on there. So for instance, like usually we have to get status on a pump, so we have to put a current transformer on there. And if it's being run by a variable frequency drive, a VFD, then we need to get information off that VFD. And sometimes in addition to that VFD, we then have to put on additional current monitors and stuff on there. And you know, it all sort of depends on the job, and it's mostly a redundancy sort of thing, but that's what we do. So generally what happens is I usually don't see the drawings, but for the odd job I will. But for the most part, what it really comes down to is one of our in-house drafting guy will usually get a list of points and stuff like that from the person who's actually managing the job on our crew, and they'll usually condense it into nice little schematics like these guys. And basically that's pretty much what I look at. And sometimes it can get pretty boring. There's a lot of times, and especially there's a couple of jobs that we're looking at that we don't really have controls in. They're just the kind of jobs where it's basically put the part in, run the wire, forget about it sort of thing. So project managers of ours really aren't even on them. It's been me and the electrician, to say the least. And so I'm usually spending my time looking at these drawings, and these drawings can get pretty big. Sometimes these drawings are, you know, like 4 feet high, 5 to 10 feet long, and you know, after looking at pages and pages of that, it's really boring, but yet it's also vital to make sure you get it right. So, boring task of the day. I'm literally going nuts as we speak right now. The one job, man, has been driving me up the wall. Getting delays from vendors and stuff like that, and I can't wait till this job is actually over, well, and done with. So needless to say, that's pretty much about it. So this morning, been dealing with Rockstar and coffee. Mix the two together, you have an awesome day. And I know it's not good for me, but there's a point in time where I just say I don't care, because I have to stay away from my shift just like anyone else. So until next time, thanks for coming by. Boring task of the day. I'll probably have a pet peeve of the day. I can't even talk because I'm tired. But I can't really think of any pet peeves, so it probably won't happen. But I'll probably release a blog sometime today as well, and just talk about random stuff. So anyhow, till next time, comment, like, subscribe, do whatever you have to do. But thanks for coming down, and we'll talk to you soon.